So you probably clicked on this video thinking that the take in the title is absolutely insane, it's completely unrealistic, and that either this video is going to be horrible or it's just clickbait, but it's neither one of those things. In today's video, I'm legitimately going to be talking about why I think in Zion Williams' prime, he could legitimately be averaging 40 points per game, and I'm going to be giving a lot of analysis, analytics, and also math behind it to back it up, and legitimately why I think Zion in the prime of his career could average 40. I did make a video a few months back about Zion and why I think if some changes happen around him and he gets put in a better situation, he could easily win the MVP of the NBA down the road in his career. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about a lot of similar things that I did in that video, so be sure to go check that one out as well. But today I'm going to be giving lots of reasons and backing up why I legitimately think Zion, with just how dominant he is and just how dominant he can be in the prime of his career, will average 40 points per game once he hits the prime of his career. So let's get straight into the video. So the first thing we're going to be talking about here is Zion's efficiency and how his dominant playstyle combined with the fact that he's extremely efficient at the rim is just going to be absolutely unstoppable in the prime of his career especially, and he's going to improve a lot on it once he starts to get more shots and more minutes per game as well. So this season, as a 20-year-old in Zion's sophomore season in the NBA, he had the highest points per game in NBA history for a player that shoots over 60% from the field. He averaged 27 points per game on 61% shooting and also 65% true shooting, which is a +9 relative true shooting. Now when we look at Zion's playstyle and just how he can pretty much create any shot that he wants, it's just insane the way that he plays and how when he's driving to the rim, it doesn't matter if he's facing a double team or an extremely good contest at the rim, he's most of the time going to fight his way through and find a way to score at the bucket. So he can easily take a lot more shots down the road in his career and get a lot more opportunities at the rim while still shooting around 60% from the field. And this is going to be absolutely unstoppable once he reaches the prime of his career. Right now in this season in 2021, Zion has had 17 field goal attempts per game and only 33 minutes per game, whereas most superstars in the NBA that are in the prime of their career right now have about 20 field goal attempts per game and 36 minutes per game. So there's a lot of complicated math involved that I'm going to be doing here, but essentially to make it a little bit more simple, Zion is averaging a little bit more than 1 point per field goal attempt and a little bit less than 1 point per minute. So if he all of a sudden gets 3 more minutes per game and 3 more field goal attempts per game in the prime of his career, all of a sudden he could be looking at potentially 6 more points per game just from getting more opportunities and more endurance out there on the floor. I talked about this a little bit more in depth in my other video that I made a while back about Zion that I mentioned at the start of the video. Like I mentioned, be sure to check that out as well. I'll link it down below in the description. But if Zion can get more opportunities like this, more shots in the prime of his career, he could easily be averaging 33 points per game combined with a lot of other things that I'm going to be talking about in the rest of today's video. So the fact that Zion is this efficient of a scorer and can pretty much create any shot that he wants with his extremely dominant play style means that he's going to be averaging a boatload of points in the prime of his career. The second main thing I want to talk about here is how Zion's also going to develop and improve more as a player as his career goes on. So not only can he add about 6 points per game from just getting more opportunities, more field goal attempts, and more minutes, but once he develops things like a jump shot and even just the slightest little jump shot, better free throws, and more playmaking, he's just going to be absolutely insane and it'll open up a lot more space for him. Let's start with his playmaking. We've seen that Zion's already an incredible playmaker that has tons of gravity when he drives towards the rim, but if he starts to improve his passing a little bit more, that's also going to open up a lot more space for him, because now all of a sudden opposing defenses are also going to be worried about the players around Zion, like guys cutting off ball towards the basket and going out to the three-point line. So if he can get less double teams drawn towards him, it's going to open up a lot of space. And even like I mentioned it earlier, if he does have those double teams, Zion is one of the very rare players that can simply simply just fight through it and score at the rim no matter what. So if he develops a little bit more passing, it's going to be incredibly tough for opposing defenses to worry about that a little bit more, and that could open up some more space for Zion, allow him to score a little bit more each game. And if he develops a decent three-point shot, it's just simply over for the league. So far in Zion's first 2 seasons, his very young career in the NBA so far, he's shooting 33% from 3 on only 0.6 attempts per game. If he can get this up to even like 2 or 3 attempts per game on 35% shooting, getting it to a point where opposing defenders have to even just think about his three-point shot and try to contest it, not only is he going to stack up on those points because he's now knocking down a 3 per game, but that's also going to open up a ton more space for him. Imagine opposing defenders trying to go out to the perimeter to even contest a shot for Zion. It'll give him such a more easy advantage to then drive towards the rim and operate a lot more easier in the paint. And it's not like Zion needs a more easy job in the paint because he's already dominating, but if he now adds this three-point shot along with what I talked about earlier in the video about getting some more minutes and more field goal attempts, all of a sudden you could see a prime Zion averaging easily around 36 to 37 points per game with the improvement with his playmaking, shooting, even just knocking down some more free throws per game. Right now Zion is shooting 70% from the line in the 2021 season. If he can get that up to about 75 to 80%, that all of a sudden adds a few more points per season as well. And all of a sudden Zion, just because of these minor improvements and getting some more opportunities per game to dominate like a superstar does, he could easily already be averaging 37 to 38 points per game. The third main thing I want to talk about here is right now Zion's in a horrible situation with the New Orleans Pelicans, and if he gets some more spacing and better coaching surrounding him, it's going to allow him to operate a lot easier as well. Let's look at the Pelicans and what they've done this season to surround Zion with shooting and spacing. They're 5th last in the regular season in three-point percentage, with shooting only 34.8% from 3 as a team, and 4th last in three-pointers made per game, with only 10.6 made per game. And they also have a big man in Steven Adams that just completely clogs up the paint. If you imagine if Zion had a stretch big alongside him, he would also have a lot more room to operate in the paint and face less double teams and triple teams and crowding around the paint, which would make it easier for him as well. Potentially, even just with a stretch big man, Zion could shoot 65% from the field in his prime, which would allow him to easily continue to stock up on that point total. And overall, if Zion even had just an average or slightly above average shooting and spacing team surrounding him, along with a stretch big man, that's easily going to allow him to add about 2 or 3 more points per game to that total. So if he's surrounded by a better spacing team, obviously he's going to have more room to operate with much better spacing. And also we saw this year how Zion was surrounded by a bad coaching staff and an older coach in Stan Van Gundy, who later in the season did make a good adjustment of moving Zion to the point guard position, which was a very interesting and creative adjustment that he made. It did allow him to create some more mismatches, but overall, Stan Van Gundy, especially defensively, but also on the offensive side of the floor, didn't do a great job with this Pelicans team this season. And I think if Zion can have a younger, more creative coach who could create a lot more mismatches for him on the offensive side of the floor, that could really benefit him as well. I mean, it's going to be really tough to have Zion in a mismatch since opposing defenses are going to be so focused on having their primary matchup against Zion. But even if Zion could just get a few mismatches per game against smaller defenders that he could easily bully, that would allow him to easily stock up on that point total as well. So those are pretty much my main 3 reasons there, with Zion's efficiency and his ability in his prime to maybe get a few more field goal attempts per game and minutes per game like the regular superstars in the NBA right now do. That combined with his potential improvements that he will make in the prime of his career with his passing ability, his free throw shooting, his three-point shooting, along with maybe even just bringing that efficiency up a little bit to 63 to 64% from the already 61% from the field that he has right now, combined with him being in a better situation with more shooting, spacing, and better coaching. If all of these minor adjustments happen, and even just a few of these minor adjustments happen to surround Zion with a better situation and have him as a more polished and more improved improved player, he could definitely average 40 points per game in the prime of his career. The logic and the math with this situation checks out, and especially when you watch Zion like I did a lot this season, you can see that he's just a special talent. We haven't seen a player that's this purely dominant in so long, and because of everything that I've talked about in today's video, I'm making that bold prediction that Zion Williamson will average 40 points per game or more in the prime season of his career. So there you have it. That is the end of today's video. Obviously today is a hot take, but like I mentioned, I really think that the eye test and the logic and the math all checks out to a point where we could legitimately see Zion Williamson having one of the most dominant pure scoring seasons, if not the most dominant season that we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. He's averaging 27 points per game right now in his second season. His pace and everything I talked about in today's video checks out that he could potentially average 40 points per game in his career. So everyone, let me know in the comments what you think of today's video, if you think my hot take makes sense, if you agree with the fact that Zion could be averaging 40 in the best season of his career. Thank you all for watching this video. If you're new, please consider subscribing. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers right now, and I'm posting tons of NBA content right now, so feel free to hit that subscribe button if you're new. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.